Good day everyone, my name is Ferlin I. Sildo. Now we're going to tackle about the generic tools in social work practice. The practice of social work involves the use of certain tools which facilitate the achievement of the worker goals and objectives. These are the following tools. First, we have interview or interviewing. Second, social work records or recordings. Third, communication. Fourth, community resources. And the last but not the least, the program and activities. Now first we have the interview or the interviewing. An interview is a face-to-face meeting between two or more persons directed towards a purpose, such as to obtain information, to give instructions, and to help. For example, when we are conducting a research, we will be involved in interviewing. Why we interview? Because we have a purpose, such as to obtain information and to give instructions and to help our clients. Interviewing also involves verbal and nonverbal communications, which will be discussed later. It also both an art and a technique because it requires knowledge and skills. For an effective interview, it requires skills, such as skills in relating with the interviewee, skills in observing the interviewee. A skilled interviewer is very observant and very sensitive to what his eyes can see. Skills in listening. Please do remember that a good interviewer is a good listener. Skills in asking questions. Asking questions in a friendly manner can make the difference between her getting correct or wrong information on a responsive or a hostile reply. Skills in answering personal questions. If asking questions required skills, so does answering personal questions too. Last, interpreting the client's response. The interviewer gives meanings to the client's words, expressions, and behavior. Now let's have the second tool, the communication. The communication is a term derived from the Latin word communis, which means to make common, and the word communicare, which means to share or to import. Communication is a two-way process, which starts with the source initiating the communication and the receiver responding, and also method, which is a way of helping people to learn through varied forms. Now let's have the four essential elements of communication process. First, we have the source. Communication may originate from an individual, a group, or an institution. When applied to social work, this means that communication could be initiated not only by the social worker, but also by her client, by her co-worker, or her agency, and so on. Now let's move on to the second element, the message. The message could be knowledge, an attitude, and or a behavior in which the source wishes to convey to the receiver. Message can be conveyed in various ways: verbally, non-verbally, and through symbols. Verbal communication involves the use of words, whether spoken or written. Non-verbal communication is a communication without the use of words, such as gestures, sounds, and so on. And symbols. Symbols are essentially a non-verbal form of communication, but comes in the forms of pictures, posters, logos, and so on. Now we have the third element, the channel. Channel refers to the proper course or channel of the transmission of communication, either interpersonal communication that involves face-to-face contact with people, or the mass media that has printed material or electronics. Printed materials, for example, comics, magazines, newspapers, and etc. And in electronics, like radio, televisions, and films. Now we have the last element, If we have the source, the message, and the channel, of course, we have the receiver. And in effective communication, the receiver is the first consideration. It is the group, the person, of the population segment, total population that is intended audience of the communication. And that's the end of our video. The rest of the generic tools will be discussed by my partner for the next video. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and I hope that you learned something. God bless.